Good morning. This is Reuben Ebrahimoff, also known as Haftorahman. And today I'm going to share with you my understanding of this week's Haftorah. A Haftorah is taken from the books of the prophets. It is a supplemental reading to whatever the reading is from the five books of Moses. Coincidentally, what we have is a split. And the split is that the first part of this reading, the Ashkenazim or the European Jews in general, read up to starting with 42, chapter 42 of Isaiah, and they read it until verse 21. However, the Sephardim, the Far East Jews, the Persians, the Iraqis, the Iranians, Persians, and Moroccans, whatever, they read further. And then somebody posed the question, why? Why isn't it one haftarah? Why did the Sephardim continue on? They actually figured it out. But we'll get into that soon. So it's from the book of Isaiah, chapter 42, 5 in Hebrew, Perek Mem, Pasuk Hey, and it starts off by saying, Ko Amar Ha'el Adonai. So says the four-letter name of God, that God, the Creator, Borei. So in Hebrew, you have Borei, Bereishit bara Elohim. At the beginning, God created. So here you have Borei. So there's a linguistic connection, and it goes through that God created the heavens and the earth and everything upon it that has a neshama, a life to it. It continues, and that I've called you and created you and made a covenant with you. And then it goes into this interesting uh, allusions, I think that's the word, about lifkoach einayim, people that are blind to reading the truth in the Bible, and also people that are deaf, that they turn deaf ears. And God is establishing through Isaiah to the Jewish people, the Yehudim, the Judeans, that were living in the remaining two tribes after the Sancherev exiled the 10 tribes. Now Nebuchadnezzar, the head of Babylonia, exiled the final two tribes, and Isaiah is giving people hope. And first, he's establishing God's sovereignty. Why? Because God was only the God of Jerusalem and Israel. God wasn't God over Persia. But God is saying through the prophet, here's my name, and I'm the everlasting God, and the idol worshiping are temporal. And it continues to say, Shiru la Hashem shir chadash, that now sing a new song to God. Why? Because the old song, a lot of the people in exile said, you know something, that was good back then. That's when we were in Jerusalem. That's when we had a temple. That's when we had service. But no, doesn't exist anymore. So we're disconnected. Maybe they should drift into the Babylonian culture. We adopted the Babylonian names for the months. Tishrei is not Hebrew. Cheshvan, not Hebrew. It's Babylonian, as well as other adaptations to Babylonian. And it says there's a new chapter and a new song because they were people that would sing and celebrate worshiping God. And they will give honor to God, and it will be a global God. And you should no longer be silent. Be proud of being Jewish. Speak up, and you're able to overcome this blindness and this deafness that these people did not want to listen to what God had to say. And the last verse of the Ashkenazi Haftorah is Hashem fates that God desires that you open your eyes and ears for his righteousness. Leman sidko yagdil, he will make the Torah great and glorious. Baruch Hashem. Now, the Sephardim continue, the Middle Eastern Jews continue, and somebody asked me what the need for more. I covered it for the Ashkenazim. What about the Sephardim? And I said, I don't know the answer. Two, I'm bad at guessing, but here, let me think. There must have been some reference in this supplemental part to the Haftorah that made it relevant for the Sephardim, the Far East Jews, to include the continuation of this chapter 42 and into 43. And it says the Jewish nation is robbed and pillaged, and all their youths are grieved. So here they're talking about the Israelites, the Judeans that were in Jerusalem. Their lives were destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar. The remnant that stayed were just the farmers, and the intelligentsia and the wealthy were then exiled. And here I see the explanation of why it is included. And that is that the Jews in the Babylonian exile in Persia are now said that you, by Isaiah, that the Jews should have no fear. Al tira, itcha anochi, I am with you. Mimizrach avizar echa, I will bring your offspring back from the east. Who's in the east? These people. Iran, Persia, Iraq, all these Sephardic countries. And I will say to the weak north wind, blow hard. In other words, push my people back into Jerusalem and Israel. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth. So here you have it, where that is why they included them, these verses, in the Haftorah. And it's bizarre because it didn't make sense to me. Kol hagoyim nikbetzu yachdav, that all the nations gathered together, and it's saying that the people were put down and they were suffering. It said the enemy nations were not put down to suffering. It speaks about the people that didn't listen, and it speaks about the people that didn't see the written word about what God asked of them, and they turned a deaf ear and a blind eye. And those are the ones that suffered for not listening. So it's castigation, judgment, bad days. So here, Atem Edai, so says God, that you are my witnesses, declares God, that I chose you. I chose Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And in this, I did this in order for all of you to know and believe me and understand that I am God, Ani Hashem. No God was formed before me, and none will exist after me, as in the famous words of Barry White. God is the first, God is the last, God is everything. So that's a little bit about this week's haftarah, taken from the book of Isaiah, explaining the haftorah, the portion of from the prophets, about what is the destiny if the Torah reading, the parsha of Genesis, is explaining the history of the Jewish people. Here, Isaiah, the prophet, can see the future, and he's sharing with everyone the destiny of the Jewish people. God bless you all. Shabbat Shalom. Send me a message if you want to ask me any questions. Sign up, click on like, and we'll see you soon.